I'm going to scan them all in.
All right, we're on. Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting, January 27th, 2014. If you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm going to move this around a little bit. We have a few folks in the audience here, so we would like to spend. Why don't you come up and we will talk to you about the Greater Haverhill Chamber of Commerce having a little soiree over at Noonan's.
Yes, sir. Members of the board, thank you very much. My name is Sven Amirian. I'm the president of the Greater Haverhill Chamber of Commerce, located at 80 Merrimack Street in Haverhill, Massachusetts. Georgetown is one of our 14 service communities. We have 14 between southern New Hampshire and this portion of Massachusetts. And I'd like to thank you first for approving this last year. We try to host events in all of the towns and cities that we serve. And last year we partnered with Noonan's Greenhouse and Florist and Georgetown Bank to do this first ever themed networking mixer we called the Caribbean Escape. It was a big success last year, and we'd like to do it again this year. So I'm before you today to request a one-day liquor license. We are a nonprofit organization. We have complete comprehensive liability insurance. We will be using a bartending service who also has liability insurance, and of course Noonan's has insurance as well. So I'm here to answer any questions about the event, and it's occurring on February 28th. That's a Friday from 6:30 to 10 p.m. at the Greenhouse. And just to give you a little bit of background, if you recall, the premise is it's a way to thaw out in the middle of winter. Steve Flynn, the owner of Noonan's, is kind enough to clear his greenhouse, jack up the temperature, and so there's a bunch of business people who for one evening wear shorts instead of suits, and we socialize and exchange business contacts and things like that, and it was a great way to warm up a little bit in the dead of winter. So we're doing it again.
Great. Any questions, gentlemen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Approximately how many people will be attending?
We get last year we got about 80 people, so we're expecting between 75 and 100 people.
And will there be a detail officer required?
There wasn't a requirement for that last year, and typically, of events this size, we don't use a detail officer.
Speaking.
Do we know what the cutoff is, Janet, before we require that?
I don't think we've had a cutoff. It's
It's just,
been at the
Yeah, I know when
board's
we had-
discretion, I think.
Yeah, events up at...
Usually you have required.
yeah. I mean, 80 to 100 people, my suggestion would be that a detail officer be present, with that many people. It just would be my preference. And I don't want to incur any additional cost. I know, belonging to multiple chambers in my own business, I know the margins are tough.
Yeah.
However, with that many people, I want to make sure that, the town is protected also. So my suggestion would be a police officer present at the event. That'd be my preference, Mr. Chairman.
Gary, any thoughts?
Typically, it doesn't seem, I'm gonna ask this of Mike and Janet, it seems like usually we have a little more than this, we have some insurance things and that before we vote, play on the one-day licenses.
Sometimes we may have them. They didn't send me any ahead of time, but we could,
Oh, we could certainly furnish that.
Follow up with it.
yeah.
As long as they follow up with that, to what Dave's speaking about, I'm okay with it as it is, but I think that's another thing that we as a board need to work on as a procedure with the chief of the town, and we've talked about this.
Yep.
It seems like this is a time that we talk about it over and over again when people are in front of us. So we really need to move on some type of a procedure, but it went well last year. I don't think they'll, probably hoping for more this year, but I don't see a problem with having to have a detail.
Yeah, I hate to add,
In favor of a detail or no?
No,
You're
I
okay without
wouldn't,
it?
I wouldn't at this point, since we don't have a policy, I wouldn't at this point
Okay.
subject them to it.
I know in the past when we had details, when we were requiring details at, Camp Dennison, it was when we were approaching the limit
Hmm.
of people.
Well, and they were over the limit of how many attendees.
I thought it was more like and remember, a lot of these people are coming and going, so it's not,
Right,
Well,
you
maybe
won't
at
see
one
a sustained, you know,
so that's also the,
do we know what they,
Could I interrupt? Mr. Chairman, could you acknowledge that Selectman Smith has joined the meeting via telephone for the record?
Selectman Smith has joined the meeting via phone.
um,
Hi, Steve.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Steve.
so then I'd be interested to know what the permit capacity is for Noonan's. It's a greenhouse. Is there any, what's the capacity? Yeah, what's the occupancy?
Check with the building inspector.
Yeah, I think we
guess,
should,
but it-
again, I'm not
it's
trying
not
to,
nice.
No,
Square
no, I
footage.
understand. I
you know.
appreciate that you realize that the margins are slim and,
yeah,
it,
God forbid something happens and there's, not at least, a detail there, then we're liable. So I just, again, I don't want to add any cost, additional cost unnecessarily, but that's my only concern, so.
Any further discussion?
I can have a discussion, just a procedure right now, I don't want, who am I addressing as chair tonight now?
I guess
Okay.
that's me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
No, I mean, I think we need a motion on the floor,
Yeah.
and then we really should, if there's any discussion.
So, point of order, Mr. Chairman. So Steve's allowed to vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So
Very
I entertain a motion for approval of a one-day alcohol license for Greater Haverhill Chamber of Commerce at Noonan's Florist and Greenhouse on February 28th, 2014.
So move.
Second? Do I have a second?
Steve?
I think that was the second.
Steve, was that a second?
Second?
Okay.
Second, okay. Discussion.
Again, I see the need for a detail officer with 80 to 100 people. Just my personal opinion.
Right. There you go. And
But I may need a motion for this. I mean, I would like to, and Gary's not always the best at this, but I'd like to at least add that we get copies of all the insurance and that, as we typically do, because there is nothing here in this packet. So, I don't think I'd be signing tonight. I'd like, before I signed, to see the copies of insurance and that.
all right, so
So if
I can withdraw my motion. We can.
No, we have to amend the motion.
Oh, we can amend it then. Okay, great.
Well, we would need insurance, naming us as additional insured from the chamber and from Noonan's.
Is that our standard order?
It wouldn't do us any good not to.
Plus, we need a certificate from the people that are serving too, right? Their liability policy, the actual bartenders.
Sometimes we've asked for like the serve safe
Yeah, the
certificate.
Okay.
yeah,
Serve
oh,
safe,
yeah.
or whatever what is it, tips, that,
Tip
Yeah, tip
certified.
certified.
tip
stuff.
certified? I think usually.
We can provide all of that, absolutely.
So the amendment.
do my best to amend it, that the, that tip certified servers be present for the function, and that the town receive all copies of pending insurance that we usually receive before we
Certificates of
sign
insurance,
certificates of insurance.
naming the town as additional insured.
Thank you, naming the town as an additionally insured.
You're saying from both entities. So moved. Is there a second? All right. Any further discussion?
Yeah, for the record, I'm not gonna vote in favor unless there's a detail, so, just for the record, and there's nothing against Noonan's or Steve, because I know Steve, and the chamber, so, but my feeling is that there should be a detail officer present.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
3 to 1. All right.
All right, thank you.
Sounds like you're in business.
Thank
so,
you very
if
much,
you'll follow
gentlemen.
up with the details, and Mike, can you just make a note that we should address, when and how we,
Yeah, so
we might want to have
we'll
police
connect on
details
the,
required.
on all the certificates and
Or
make sure you have
whatever
all the paperwork
next
that you need.
meetings or
Yeah.
Okay, great.
future meetings.
And please feel free to join us.
Absolutely,
February
thank you.
28th.
Have a great event.
Even though I'm in the Newburyport chamber. Can I come?
Absolutely.
But I didn't even vote for the support. I
There you go.
No, I
Of course
can't.
you can.
There you go. All right, thanks for coming in.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Chairman, Selectman Smith has a limited time to be
Okay.
with us, so
So we'll work on that.
any things that require voting,
Okay.
um,
Yes. So why don't I, under new business, we have the bond anticipation note for Pembroke School. I would entertain a motion to approve this bond anticipation note for the Pembroke School project for
Yeah, we have to get specific,
a
right?
sum of $6 million.
all these have to be
Yeah,
voted.
we gotta get all these votes. All right, so, you want me to do these?
We're gonna do each one of them?
I
or
think
the
you
whole
can
pack?
roll it all in one. They're all the same.
All right, so,
Bond.
I make a motion that we hereby determine in accordance with Mass General Laws, 70B, that the amount of the cost of the Pembroke School be authorized by a vote of the town passed on November 1st, 2012, not being paid by school facilities grant is $20,167,036. We hereby approve the issuance of notes and bonds and such amount under Mass General Law, Section C70B, to approve the sale of $6 million, 1% general obligation obligation bond anticipation note of the town dated January 27, 2014, and payable July 28, 2014, to TD Securities USA LLC at par and accrued interest plus a premium of $24,120. I'll ask in the discussion about that, Mike. Also, that in connection with the marketing and sale of the note, the preparation and distribution of a notice of sale and preliminary official statement dated January 15, 2014, and a final official statement dated January 22nd, 2014. Each in such forms may be approved by the town treasurer, be it hereby are ratified, confirmed, and approved and adopted. Further, that the town treasurer and the board of selectmen be and hereby authorized to execute and deliver a significant events disclosure undertaken in compliance with SEC Rule 15C2-12 in such form as may be approved by bond counsel to the town, which undertaking shall be incorporated by reference in the note for the benefit of the holders of the note from time to time. Further, we authorize and direct the treasurer to establish post-issuance federal tax compliance procedures in such form as the treasurer and bond counsel deem sufficient, or if such procedures are currently in place, to review and update said procedures in order to monitor and maintain the tax exempt status of the notes. Further, that each member of the Board of Selectmen, town clerk, and town treasurer be and hereby are authorized to take any such actions and execute and deliver such certificates, receipts, or other documents that may be determined by them or any of them to be necessary and convenient to carry into effect the provisions of the foregoing votes. What a motion. So basically, what we're saying here is that we're approving the $6 million short-term anticipation note, right, Mike, at 1%?
Correct.
Okay, so that's the motion, so we got a second.
Second.
All right, Steve seconded. All right, so, Mr. Chairman? Yeah, Mike, why the premium? Is that, if it says at par at 1%, why are they charging us a premium of $24,120?
I believe that's the fee, the finance company's fee,
Okay. All right, to set everything up and go out to market?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't like the word premium. I mean, you can ask bond counsel about that. I'm certainly gonna vote for it, but, the word premium, and once you say at par, then you say premium, maybe that should be worded a little bit differently, but just my, you know, because a premium would, you know, you can't say par on one hand and premium on the next, because it's just conflicting, so that's a little confusing. So if we can get a little explanation on that for further, you know, for later, not today, but I'm certainly gonna vote for it, so that's my only
Do you need
question.
signatures tonight?
Yes.
All right, any further discussion?
Yes. First off, nothing against Steve joining us, but I thought that when you go over the phone, that you're supposed to do your best to be here for the whole meeting, not to just vote on particular things. So let me state that.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
On page,
Someone's really like banging stuff or putting papers in front of the mic. Just makes it hard to hear.
if we get to the first page, as it was, well, first, as it was presented tonight, do we have the signature of the town clerk on what's in front of us tonight? Because it's not there on this one.
She signed that.
She signs after.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And why does it say on here unanimously passed? Because I don't believe the vote's gonna be unanimous.
Where are you saying that?
Which one, Gary?
Yeah, second
Right.
page, right there.
Right, bottom line of the first paragraph.
Yeah, unanimously passed. It should just say passed.
These all came from bond council, I think, and I don't know why they.
Well, if it
So
isn't
just gonna make it-
unanimously passed, we'll cross out unanimously.
Is it there for a reason? This came from bond council, and it states in here that if we have any problems with the way it's written, that we should notify them. Not just change it.
I think they just assumed, Gary, that everybody would be voting
Yeah,
for it.
that's what it sounds like to me.
But I don't think, looking at it, I don't think it changes the spirit or the complexion of issuing the bonds. It just talks about the vote and who voted for it.
It's written in there.
Yep.
Yeah, that shouldn't be
You're
there, I
right.
agree with
And
you.
they,
You're right.
and they say that if we find something, I thought of calling them today, but I did not find the time to do it. It states also down in the bottom paragraph, okay, now, correct me on this, if I read, it says which, because I know we've talked before with the school about votes, okay, now it just says ban for Pembroke School project. Now, according to this, it says which agenda included the adoption of the above notes was filed with the town clerk and a copy therefore posted in a manner conspicuously visible. I don't believe that's posted outside, this cover sheet.
They're talking about the agenda for this meeting.
Gary, I'm
Included
lost.
the adoption of the
Just
above
talking about
votes. An agenda including the adoption of the above votes.
It's on the agenda that we're going
That
to
we're
be
voting
voting.
on.
New business, ban for Pembroke School project.
Right,
Right.
which is bond anticipation note.
Agreed. Doesn't say that, it says that, doesn't say anything about a vote, and this here says that this was supposed to be, the way I read it. Now, on the first page, after, I guess this would be page one, the third page in. We, the selectmen of the town of Georgetown, certify that we have authorized the use of any what's the word, of our signatures that may be printed on the notes.
Facsimile.
Gary doesn't agree to that. Okay?
We've been using
The
DocuSign for,
Mhm.
it's the board has adopted that as a policy method of signing documentation.
Okay, well, I read that as they could use my signature if have authorized the use.
You have to authorize it, and
Okay,
and
so
by,
like
that's
DocuSign.
pertaining to the DocuSign.
that's what I
Okay,
believe,
all right,
yes.
then thank you, okay, I'm in agreement with that, if that's, we've cleared that up. The other thing that I wanna know, and this is, section 2 on that same page, description and purpose of the bonds. Now, I need some clarity on what we talked about last week, and that's the Elm Street project and how we're paying for that. Because that's, in here, it's I think that the notes are being issued for the purpose of designing, constructing, and originally equipping a new Pembroke Elementary School. Now, are we down the line? I thought
We haven't
also
done anything
paying,
with Elm Street.
but where is the funding for Elm Street coming from? I thought that,
Totally separate issue. That's not
Completely
coming
separate.
from any
It's
of
not
these
part of this.
proceeds. It's a totally separate issue. We were looking for, Peter was looking for some federal money from Safe Routes to Schools. We said we would talk about free cash. We would talk about doing a bond. We did get
I-
approval to do a bond. Has nothing to do with this, borrowing this money. Totally separate. But there's about $300,000
Is it-
in work at the
but is
beginning
it-
of the street there, but
what I'm getting to is that also coming up as an override?
that's already been voted. That money's already been voted, and we have the
Yes, and so
authority
we
to do it.
can- Okay, under an override.
Yeah.
But yet you're
No,
saying
there's
it's.
no
No, there's no
override.
override, because it was a debt exclusion,
Well,
right?
because
It was not
Not
a
a debt
debt
exclusion,
exclusion.
okay. Yeah,
Well, see, that's
general-
what, see, I'm still confused with that, because I thought there was wording in there, I can remember talking about the wording, and projects related there too was on the vote, and I thought that there was talk that Elm Street was,
yeah, we
was not, so I mean,
yeah.
go
We
ahead.
had always said that Elm Street, we would have to find the money for that, and that wouldn't be part of the 20 million that was going into the school. There's about $300,000 in the budget, and correct me if I'm wrong.
And it's not
For
debt
the
exclusion.
beginning, that's in this,
It's in it.
for the tie-in of the water lines or the street, but has nothing to do with the Elm Street project. This is totally separate. We have to determine, meaning the Board of Selectmen,
Yes.
determine how we're gonna raise the money for that. Which could come from borrowing, yes, and we have the authority to do that, the way I understand it.
Yes.
Already done.
Okay,
Up to $1.8 million.
Right, it's up to us.
okay.
So
But
from
we
a
didn't sign the
combination, yeah,
contract.
so a combination of bonding, free cash if we had some, and grants, that's
Grants,
what we were
highway
looking
money.
for.
Hoping for grants.
Yeah, and maybe, some of Peter's money, we're trying to, that's
Highway
another
fund.
So
project.
that was to be separate.
Yeah,
Completely
totally
Well,
separate,
I just remember putting the language in
Yeah,
there,
I understand.
projects
Yeah.
related there too,
yeah,
into that vote, and I remember talk about
yeah,
whether, because it was something that we had to get permission from Mass School
Yeah.
Building Authority to put it into the vote like that.
right.
Right.
What
it's the-
was that for?
This bond is for the 169,400 school building, project.
Now-
Elm Street's completely a different, it's not part of this.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's no way that the SBA is gonna allow that to happen, and neither will bond council allow that to happen.
Now, this is the bond anticipation note.
Right.
So by signing this, that's it. Later, when this is done, if we can just go out and borrow the rest of it.
Right, this will roll
We
into
won't, no,
the,
I'm trying, we won't be back again looking, I mean, the bond anticipation note by approving this, we're getting this 6 million, but we're anticipating borrowing the rest that's in here.
Yes, this is a 6-month note.
Phased in.
It's just to give us enough cash flow till we're certain about, well, we know we're gonna be spending $6 million from now until probably April or May. So then in April or May, we come to you with the full bond. And we'll either take a portion of the 26 million or take it all, depending upon, and we've talked a little bit about this, depending upon the financial temperature of interest rates and what they think that is gonna happen to them in the next year. But this one will take enough money in May for a regular long-term bond and pay off this $6 million bond. And as David said, roll it into the main, what we call the main bond. We'll just have one bond.
This effectively is a bridge loan.
it's a line of credit, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a construction loan.
Yeah. And as you advance and use the money, then you have to go out and advance more, and eventually, and it depends what stage of the project is at too. You know, depending upon when we borrow, not only interest rates and what the forecast is, but depends how far along they are with the school. So, I mean, there'd be no sense in us borrowing the full amount and holding it for 2 years,
Right.
no matter where interest rates are.
We're
know.
spending about $1 million a month now, and, yeah, once the weather, the real construction season starts, we'll be probably spending $2 million a month, or $1.5 million, depending upon the phase of the construction.
Couple more, if I may, Mr. Chair. On page 6, I'm not sure what section it is, we got a lot of sections here. 5.2 record keeping. I remember talk at one of our meetings about possibly having to hire a person because we felt that our financial team here could not do that. Have we done that, or have we just not talked about that anymore?
We haven't had to do it yet.
Okay. Is
When,
that,
when more trades get on the work, construction site, we may have to, but right now, we only have 2 or 3 trades out there submitting bills. So, when you have, we could have 20 trades out there at one time eventually, and that would probably be when we would need the extra help.
and is that sort of something that in here that, I mean, obviously, we hope to keep good records, but is that sort of what they're looking for here also in this note, making sure that we, page 6,
It says page
5.2.
6. Town shall maintain or cause to be maintained detailed records.
I think they're talking about financial records,
Which is what, yeah.
the spending,
Yeah.
but that would be the
So
same
I-
records we're keeping
we're
now.
keeping. So, I mean, they're not asking us to put on a separate person.
Oh, no.
At any time, that would be the town's decision
That's correct.
to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you may, just one more, if you go back to Appendix A-2, and then compare it in the same section with 4, there's another $600 added in there. Okay, from the face page. It's 6,000, I mean, 6,024,720 instead of 120. Now, back on page 4, it mentions a purchaser's discount of $600, so I guess I'm asking, is that why we go back to the 120? Page 4 is 3.2.
See, I'm lost on these pages, Gary.
I don't
For some
have-
reason. I'm lost. Can you show me where you're at, so I can look at it?
It's,
My page is only booked at 4.
you got the first section, it ends at page 4. Go to the second
The
section.
first
there.
page is 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then it starts over again. 1, 2,
And 4,
3, and then 4.
and go to the next 4.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. That 4th page?
Yeah.
Okay.
As you can see there, I mean.
The reoffering
in-
price?
In the previous section, we've been talking about $6,024,120.
Yeah, that was my question.
Now
on the
here,
page.
now it mentions 720, which back here, on, I don't know which section I'm in now, Dave, but up there, it's got the 6,024,720.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah, the premium, it looks like they're offering us a discount depending upon when we buy.
Right, based on,
Notes of the purchase and exchange for aggregate amount, okay. Amounts, unless purchaser's discount. Based upon the advice of the purchaser, as the sale date, the price paid for the notes did not exceed the fair market value of the notes set forth in Exhibit A. Let me go back to Exhibit A. Yeah, they're getting into what they call an offering price. And if the market moves then it looks as if they're giving us up to a $600 discount if the bonds, if the market value of the bonds change. That's what it looks like to me, Gary. So that would be in our favor, depending
Yes,
upon when we,
yes.
so they would give us a rebate of $600, depending upon when we purchase the bonds, depending upon the market at
Timing
the time.
issue, basically.
Right. That's what it looks like to me. Which would be in our favor. The bottom line is, we can't pay more than the $24,720 premium.
$720.
We can pay less, but we can't pay more.
That includes the interest over the 2 years that we could
No.
possibly.
No, that's nothing to do with the interest. That's just to issue the
Oh, that's
bonds. The
the,
broker
premium.
gets $24,720. That's just the premium. We pay 1% on 6 million is what? Divided by, how many months is it?
It's in here somewhere.
Yeah, the number, the calculation's gotta be there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was,
It's what, $60,000 a year, right? Divided by 6 is 30. Right, 9.5 is about $30,000. Which we'll roll that, we make an interest payment on that, or we'll roll that into the total?
We do have an interest payment.
Yeah, okay. So Gary, in that case, we'd get a six, depending upon when we purchase and when we lock it up, there's, sounds like to me there's a market value difference, could exceed, they'll give us the benefit if they can save us a little money on that. That's what it looks like to me, unless we get bond counsel to explain it, but that's, I mean, that's in our favor anyway, Gary,
yeah, no.
so, that was a good one.
Good question. They like a discount if they get it. All right, any further discussion, gentlemen?
So we have a motion in a second, right?
Yep. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With aye.
All those opposed?
A nay.
We have a 3-1. All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, we have a couple of folks here, so I would like to have, we have a request for approval of a common victular license of Pomodori's Restaurant, 42 Central Street, to expire on December 31st, 2014. Come on up. Good evening.
How's it going?
Getting all ready to go? Ready to roll?
I guess this is the last stop, I guess, and then we're ready to go.
Good. Excellent. So, you're Peter?
Yes, sir.
How did we say your last name?
Nicolakopoulos.
Nicolakopoulos. Thank you.
And I do have the signed, common victual license from all the departments.
Okay,
You got all the
and everything's in
signatures.
order, insurance, payments, everything, water, electric, all that good stuff, okay? So gentlemen, I'll take a motion for, or, consider a motion for this common victular license for Pomodori's at 42 Central Street
So moved.
to expire on December 31st, 2014. So moved, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a second, great. Discussion.
Yeah, I don't see anything on, how that liquor license is gonna work out.
He doesn't have a liquor license.
Doesn't have a liquor license. Oh, okay.
No plans?
No plans for,
I spoke to Janet. I might inquire about a possible
Maybe
beer
later.
and wine down the road, but you know, this is my second location. I don't have a beer and wine license there, so it would be relatively new. But we're thinking about it. I want to kind of just go with the familiarity, what we know, and address that, you know, the days to come down the
All right.
road.
all right.
How soon will you be open, you think?
Yeah, when?
Tomorrow.
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 All right.
If everything, I'm assuming if everything goes.
Yeah, if everything goes right.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, that's
I could
great.
probably crack in a couple subs real quickly tonight. You know what I mean?
What time you opening?
Yeah, exactly. I'll send a delivery over.
8:01.
here.
No, you don't send anything over here. No, God, no.
Oh, no, we don't want to do
No,
that.
we don't do that
There's gonna
here.
be a bill. Don't worry about it.
right.
Listen, we spent a lot of money in there. There's gonna be a bill after whatever. I send
Thankfully, there
over.
will be a bill.
Good, well, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So, is there any further discussion from anybody on this license? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
All right, best of
You are
luck.
in business.
Thank you, John.
Congratulations,
All right,
best
thank you
of
very
luck.
much.
Well,
Thanks.
thank you for being in
I'll see you
town.
guys. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Take care.
Guys, I apologize. I have to get to a meeting and sign off, but I appreciate the update, Colin.
All right, Steve.
All right, we'll see you later.
All right, bye.
All right, we have A request for appointment of Jay O'Malley to the Economic Development Committee. So Jay, come on up.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're thinking.
Well, I just
Careful what you wish for. No.
Yeah, right. I just moved to town in June. Work for the Boston Beer Company as director of marketing.
Great.
Have a undergrad in economics and government, so always had, an interest in being involved in communities and just, a young family and would like to have, honestly, more opportunities to spend money in town. More shops, seeing a new store coming to town.
Yeah.
That's what we
That's
need.
great.
That's
know.
what I love doing. Most of my background's in sales for 12 years with the company before I shifted into the marketing department. So I, day in and day out, work with businesses, understand their hardships, their needs, what makes them click, what doesn't, and just like to try to be a part of bringing some more business and some more opportunity into Georgetown. Envision downtown is thriving, not neon lights, but
Yeah.
a little more going on.
Fully staffed,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah, all the shops full would be a good start.
Exactly. That would be a good start.
So
Well, that's great. Any questions?
No. So you just moved in? Where'd you move in from? Just curiosity.
I'm from Rockport originally, but my family and I were out in Chicago for 4 years.
Oh,
So
you're not a Blackhawks fan, are you?
we weren't there quite long enough.
That might sway my but no.
All right. Gary, questions?
No, if, I just want to say that we had a scheduled meeting of the Economic Development Committee last Thursday morning, at which we didn't quite make a quorum. And Jay did join us.
Oh, good. So that might help
Jim.
the quorum, huh?
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yes. I think at some point we may want the board to look at the makeup of that board. It's 7 now, and we've really only had, I believe, 4 active members. And then I know it says here, I think that we're short 2. So I think Jay will put us to 6 members, but we may want to look at the makeup of that board sometime, whether it perhaps move it down to 5.
Is that a
So that we
bylaw
don't-
for the makeup? Is that
I-
part of the
I-
bylaw,
I
or
don't
no?
think it is. I think.
No,
it's-
That's us.
it's
We
just
can-
a
Okay,
selectmen's committee.
okay. Can you make a
we've-
follow-up note for us on that?
we've
I've
been,
got one here. 7's a little hard to get.
Well, it's harder to get a quorum of, when you've only really had, I mean, hopefully Jay's gonna make 5 active members if we can all work around each other's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And,
We should probably
which
consider.
will help, but
Yeah, we should probably consider making 2 of those spots alternates.
that's, yes, that was one thing that we talked about also, but, as we couldn't have any real official talk the other day anyway, so.
Right.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Jay O'Malley to the Economic Development Committee, term to expire June 30th, 2014.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you.
Great.
All those opposed?
Welcome aboard.
Welcome
you very
aboard,
much.
yes.
Awesome.
Thank
Somewhere
you.
my wife just went, what?
I know.
Thank you guys.
Great.
Tell her she can get it even by perhaps being on another committee somewhere else.
That's
Yeah,
true.
there you
Keep
go.
balancing out. So thank you for coming forward. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good evening.
See you around town. All right. Support for mosquito control funding for fiscal year 2015. This is a declaration of support for mosquito control. We need to take a vote. Is that
Oh,
correct,
Mr.
Mike?
Chairman, I definitely will make
This
this
money
motion.
comes from the cherry sheets.
Yeah, it's a charge. We budget for it under state charges, and then it's just, the state charges it off. The form is a little awkward, because it assumes you've got a CEO. And I think the best way to handle this is just for the board to authorize me to sign in support
Okay.
of the, as the CA of it.
Administrative officer. Okay.
Well, in the past, we've had the chairman of the board, right?
Right.
Acting as the CEO.
Yes, we have. Chairman of the board's not here.
Well, the clerk will do. All right, I mean, yeah, we could use this just down American Legion alone, $40,000. The mosquitoes are like birds down there. In the summertime, it's brutal.
Crazy.
But they have did some additional spraying, because we've asked. And I know they've come down and done some, you
They
know,
will- they will come.
yeah, it needs it, yeah.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to authorize the chief executive officer of the town, whoever that may be, we can work, I don't think we have to be that specific, but the CEO of the town, to sign a letter of support for the budget of the Northeast mosquito control for Georgetown at $40,075.
Second,
Any discussion?
do we want to be more specific on that?
I,
mean,
the
do we-
CEO, I think that should come from the board, being honest. So I would say Steve, or in his stead, the clerk could sign it. I don't
Oh,
think-
Steve can sign it when he gets back,
Yeah,
right?
right, when do they need it? We're not gonna start spraying for a while anyway,
We
right?
don't have a meeting
It's
here
not-
until,
It's not time sensitive at this point, is it?
Yeah,
No,
Okay.
do we
So,
know-
the chair, authorize the chair, so.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, my motion was
Authorize the chair.
yeah, just plug that in.
Okay,
If you second that, then we're good.
all right. Any further discussion?
Ye- Yes, Mr. Chair. Sure. Do we know if we have anybody, I mean, they have a meeting, have we ever had anybody attended or anything? You know, states here they're having a meeting down at Plum Island Taxpayers Association Hall.
Yeah, February 14th?
Board of Health may go, I don't know.
I mean,
Deb
does
she go?
like Peter or anybody, I mean, I'm sure they must
No,
work
it's
with
Deb,
Peter. 'cause
would be
they-
Deb.
Deb is,
Deb
Board of
Rogers is the
Health.
one that.
Board of Health.
is the liaison with the mosquito
Okay,
control.
and so she generally,
She's always on top of things
Participates,
as
okay.
far as that's concerned.
okay, great.
All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Aye. 3-1.
3-0.
I mean, 3-0, sorry, thank you. Still thinking Steve's on the phone. Mr. Hoover. Good evening.
Good evening.
We would love to hear your point of view.
Thank you very much for giving me the 5 minutes. I really appreciate your time. What I just wanted to talk about real briefly was were two things. One, the reason that I'm here tonight is basically around the Elm Street project, and I would have come to your agenda meeting when it was on the agenda, but at that point in time, it's too late for what I just wanted to share with you. And this is something that I've been talking about for over a year now, and so I figured I'd just grab some time. Thank you. I guess the first one is just in general. Right now, the procurement for design services for what I think I've heard the term used, horizontal projects versus building projects, is, in my opinion, is broken, and it's something that the RFP, RFQ process is really the only way to address that for projects that are above a certain amount of money. You certainly wouldn't do it for every single project that's a horizontal road, parking lot, public works, whatever. But it's how best practices would suggest that a town goes about doing that. And it not only saves the town money and time, it definitely saves time in the long run if it's incorporated, but you also get a better product because you get a better match with the firm that you're working with, and the scope of work is all spelled out. And just in conclusion to that discussion of the RFP and that part of the process, because it's too late for the Elm Street project, but to eventually get to a bylaw at some point that is thought out by design professionals, have an architect, a landscape architect, civil engineer. I'm more than you know how happy I am to join those kinds of groups. But to have a group put together a process for how you do an RFP, RFQ for these kinds of projects.
Just for, I don't want you to lose your thought, but
No problem.
these sort of things roll off the tip of your mouth, but for those that don't know, go a little deeper in what's an RFP and
Oh,
things of that sort, okay, so
I'm
that
sorry,
myself and others,
sure.
thanks.
Sure. Well, backing up a little bit, this is professionally what I've been doing for almost 35 years now, designing roads and parking lots and large-scale land developments. And in that process, when you're starting a new project, you're trying to find out who is the best match for that town or that client.
As far as the engineer or the site work
Correct.
or whatever, right? Any
Correct.
of the contractors.
Correct.
Okay.
And the way that is done is an RFP, which is a request for proposals, or an RFQ / which is a request for qualification. And in that, you'll get different opinions on this. I think it was very effective with the turf field project. The turf field project originally had a proposed fee of close to $70,000. And then
Design fee?
Yeah, and then when we crafted the RFP, which I mostly put together with some help from Mike and some others, the proposal came back, and they saved $6,600. It was almost 10% they had in the savings of cost, which was really saying something, considering that design firm had been working on that project for years in advance, that they came in like that. So I'll be happy to talk more about this at any time, come back at any time. I know you guys have it, I'm not on the agenda, so I was trying to keep it short too, Gary, that whatever works for you guys, if you want to make an appointment later, I'd love to come back and give more talk to it. Switching over to the Bayview engineering proposal for the Elm Street project, I watched you guys, and I think it was a great move on the stormwater issue. You hit the nail right on the head on that one after I've reviewed their proposal, so thumbs up on that. What I wanted to add to that was there's no response in the proposal from Bayview with regards to historic issues. And Elm Street is the oldest street in the town. And it's not mentioned in the project description, it's not mentioned anywhere in their proposal, except until you get to the end of the proposal where you see it in a not included section. And as soon as you find something in a not included section like that, immediately what comes up for me is that is going to come up. You know it's going to come up. And then you pay a premium
Yeah,
for it
it's
later,
additional dollars.
because then they've got the job, and you want to avoid those if at all possible. And the proposal has a spirit to it of working on Department of Transportation, DOT standards and specs. And Elm Street is not a DOT project. It's an historic street. And things like, I think you talked about designing walls per DOT standards. No, they're stone walls. DOT standards are concrete,
Okay.
so on. The survey has a whole slew of not includeds. The side streets that, Chestnut Street, for example, that comes into Elm Street, it talks about not surveying the property line, right-of-way line for Chestnut as it comes in, and they're going to just use tax map as information. It's begging for trouble to not get that tied down. That's one of the non-includeds that popped out at me. And there were numerous other non-includeds in there, and I don't want to bore you with them all, but it says no test pits or soil borings. That was an additional service, and they're going to design the road according to the proposal based on their experience. And I'm not questioning their experience, but when you're going to spend this kind of money on a redo, the short-term money for taking some test pits and borings of what exists under the current road, just to make sure you get it right, it's short change in the whole scheme of things. But all of these are additional service,
Yeah.
and every time I just see the thing going ching, ching,
Yeah, you
ching,
just see it shaking up.
and it causes delays. Causes delays, which you can't put. So, I guess for a recommendation, I think for this project, and I think it's part of how the town moves forward with horizontal projects, horizontal new construction projects. The independent peer review is the only independent technical review of the design service that's being provided to you. And Larry Graham is someone that is used by the planning board often, and then I forget who the other civil engineering firm is, but that's what they're there for. They are trained, they're the only ones trained in reviewing these drawings to comment and provide back and protect the town from issues that you may or may not catch. I'm sure the town council is gonna review the limitation of liability clauses that are in there in the standard terms of conditions, but it is a design firm friendly set of standard conditions, to say the least, and so that's something that, so that's something that
Yeah.
there would be a lot of red lines to, I would think. And just lastly, you know, what is historic? People kind of scratch their head, and, you know, the definition for me for historic in design would be those existing big old trees that sit along the road. You want to do everything you can to protect
Preserve them.
those. The new planting that would be part of it. There's no mention of planting as part of the proposal. The stone walls that exist, what you're gonna do with that. The curbing detail is huge. You don't see straight-faced granite curbing on old historic roads. These are all design details that are part of the process that you'd wanna work out and pay attention to. And then the horizontal alignment is the last one. You know, that's in plan view, the alignment of the road. You wanna make sure it's not designed to DOT standards, and I know they're talking about keeping it in place, but you wanna pay attention to that. So, I didn't wanna take any more of your time, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming in, and I won't speak for the board, but you know, my personal opinion is I'd love to have you take a look at that and, you know, make suggestions on what you saw and shoot them up to us.
Yeah, I
You know, I
have,
want to make sure we're doing the right thing, and it is a historic road, and you know, Gary brought up a bunch of great points on it last time, and you know, I think there's a lot there. I wasn't real happy with what I was reading in the contract, you know, myself, so would love your point of view and, you know, opinion. You know, maybe a written, if you'd be willing to do a written submission.
If it serves you with, if you have the time to do that, I don't know what your schedule is with that right now, and so,
well, I mean, I have some questions, Mr. Chairman, revolving around Rob's comments. One is, if we had this RFP process in place, how much different would we have approached this project?
very,
Just give me a 2-minute, how would we have benefited by having a different RFP process in place, in an RFP?
one of, I would suspect that one of the criteria for evaluating firms would be their experience with historic streets.
Okay,
That would be one.
right.
That would be the most obvious. Their fee would be part of the proposal. The scope of work that you would define in the RFP, RFQ is probably the most important part of that process, I think.
So how did we get this engineering firm in the first place? Was it just somebody that Peter picked, or did they have to compete? Or, I mean, you know, because I would be under the impression that, you know, we got, you know,
Yeah,
went out to for an RFP, no?
No. Peter has used them in town on numerous occasions.
Okay. So,
And he's comfortable working with them. There's
Okay.
no requirement to take this out to bid.
really, even though it's a 1.1, you know, whatever $1 million project?
That's correct.
Really?
It's an odd one, but it is true, that if
Why
a
is
building. I think, David, this is just my opinion, but I think it is a lack of understanding of the importance of.
No, I want to back up. Why
horizontal
does the law allow that? That's-
Engineers, architects,
Professional
professionals
services.
are exempt from the
Because it's not
procurement
construction.
laws. That's right.
Okay,
It's-
all right, so that answers that question, okay.
It has to have a roof on
And
it.
I'm not being critical of
To be
Peter
considered
whatsoever.
No, neither am I.
So
Structure.
so
Neither
that's
am
my
I.
next question is,
Thank you, Dave,
have you,
because
right, no, absolutely not.
Intended to
You
ask.
gotta do that.
Neither am I.
The next question is, have you sat with Peter and gone over these things? Have you,
Not specifically on this. I have sat down with him. I've talked to them on several occasions a while back.
well, I think you should connect with him, really.
Well, I was going to, but I felt, I felt a little uncomfortable being a private citizen, in terms of then sitting down with him and talking with him about this. It's
I don't know, I don't think you're a private citizen, Rob. You've been on the planning board, you've been on the school, building committee.
Yeah.
I mean, you're well-known in town, and you have the expertise. I think he'd welcome it. I don't think Peter would be insulted at all. Really, I just, speaking for Peter, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe just to say that.
I mean, I will.
Or at least offer, anyway.
Well, I will again.
Yeah,
I
I think you
have in the
should.
past done that.
Yeah.
I have, I have, and I will
I
again.
think you should.
Yeah, I think that's
That's good information. I think we were very concerned, both Gary and myself, about the water issue. I was, from the beginning, whether it was covered or not, I was worried about,
Yeah.
what are we gonna, what if effect, if any, and who's looking at this, and who's doing these calculations? I'm not an expert in that area at all, but I worry about redoing that road and then flooding Chestnut Street, or flooding, the main road that goes out, 97, who knows? I mean, we may be flooding 133, we might be flooding downtown, I don't know. But I know that I wanted somebody with the expertise to take a look at that, just to make sure that we're not creating another problem, And then to Gary's point, he agreed with me, then he was worried about the money, and I thought that would be their responsibility, as far as, but there's nothing in there, they don't cover that.
No, they excluded.
That's
they
a huge
excluded-
concern.
It was a pretty open contract.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that weren't in there, and that was.
Yeah. So my suggestion,
Very
take
concerning.
it for what it's worth, is maybe try to just offer to, Peter a little review if he's open to it.
Does the schedule allow that? See,
Well, we haven't signed the contract, right? So
Yeah, we,
we haven't signed it.
We're not in any hurry to sign a contract, are we? I don't think we are we? Is there any-
No,
and
I mean, a lot of people are interested in this getting going, but
Right.
we can't even,
Well, we're gonna have a public hearing too, we said, right?
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, there's,
Would we have the
opportunity.
public hearing before we go to contract? Wouldn't that
No,
generally
it's
be?
part of the design. They
Oh, okay,
have to
because,
cons-
okay, so it's the design
They have
public
to
hearing.
consult
Okay.
with the neighbors and with the historical
Okay.
commission, and anybody else interested in it.
not until we engage though. We have to engage with them first, then they do that?
Right, yeah.
They're not gonna do it for free.
No,
No, I get that.
it's in there for,
Yeah. Which was great, because I was immediately thinking of you, Rob, honestly. So, where's Rob the other, that last meeting, where's Rob? I know you calling me and texting me and he trying to get together and it just hadn't been able to work. And, I was like, where's Rob tonight, So,
Well, I mean, I concur with David's, point of view, and I think you should talk to Pete, and you should, bring up the points, and, I'd love you to take a stab at that contract and let us know, the have-nots that are in there and how you would look at it realistically, because there were a lot of, what do you call them, non-inclusives, and, yeah, that's just.
and I
seems to
would
me
caution
it's
you,
gonna
do
ring
that,
the bell
be doing that
higher.
as a citizen, not as a professional, because of liability and all that.
No, I do. I am
Citizen.
No letterhead. goes
Citizen
up.
Rob.
Citizen Rob. Citizen Kane, yeah.
Well, it was important for me to talk publicly with you about this, because I didn't want to just be talking to Peter without open discourse with it
No, no, I
all.
mean-
So, I think that's great, and I guess I just leave you with, I think what this town still needs for the future is for when the next Elm Street project comes, because it is gonna come.
Yep.
We should have a policy in place, like many towns do, that tells you what you do and how you go about securing design professionals for so-called horizontal flat work.
Okay.
And we don't have to reinvent the wheel, it's already been done.
And you had some questions?
yeah, well, it's just a statement, and Rob, you never bore us, or at least me. And I thank you for taking the time to come forward and to do this publicly. And what I had wanted to say, I think, was just what you touched on. You've got enough past experience on like the planning board, and I know you mentioned Graham that works. I think the planning board has some of these things already in process for when they're looking at things. And we as a town, when we don't have to go before the planning board, need to put them into a process also.
Yeah, maybe
I
we can
think that's
template some of
basically
their
what you're
best
saying.
practices.
And people such as you, yourself, and the planning board should be able to help us to move in that direction, and we definitely need to move in that direction.
Great. Thanks for your
Thanks, Rob.
time.
Appreciate it. You have a great night.
You too.
All right, warrants and minutes. Don't forget to sign the warrant and the other things. Minutes of January 13th, 2014. I'd entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
So move.
I'll second.
Any
Just-
comments or changes?
Just one small change. Where was that? Page 3. Um, on to paragraph after old business, when we're talking about the Elm Street project. I just wanted, it may have been both, I think it was myself that stated that I wanted to wait, what do we need to do to wait for, Peter, and that's when David withdrew his motion. But I think Phil may also have stated it, it may have been the two of us. So, I mean, we were going in that particular, but I just think my name, perhaps you could add Mr. Fowler also.
Past Mr.
You
Trapani.
see where I'm at, Janet?
Page,
Mr. Trapani stated, wait for Mr. Durkey to arrive for answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it
Mr.
was
Fowler
myself.
also?
Yeah, I believe it was myself that was asking, and that's when David said that I'll withdraw my second.
Okay.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes on January 2013, 14, with the proposed change with Mr. Fowler.
So move.
Second?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, lost my agenda.
Digging through it. Mr. Farrell, Town Administrator's Report.
Yes, first thing I'd like to take up is the proposed code of conduct. We unfortunately have had several occasions when customers, citizens have come into town hall and have been, well, they have acted inappropriately, in my mind. They've threatened and argued and cursed at the town hall employees, which is totally and utterly unacceptable in my mind. They've frightened, they come in and act like bullies because they're not getting their way. It's,
Various departments, whatever.
2 weeks ago, two departments had two separate incidents where people have gotten out of hand. One, a police report was made
Okay.
because it bordered on assault, verbal assault, but assault nonetheless. And the other one, the other department handled it themselves. This was a repeat offender, if you will, because had to do with tax bills. The last time the person came in to pay the tax bills, the same thing happened, but this one escalated beyond the. And in talking with my colleagues around the state, and frankly around the country, this is happening all over the place. The lack of civility in local government. Well, they take their cue from the federal government. I mean, the people in our federal government are not exactly good examples of propriety and civility. But one of my other colleagues here in the state, actually was the town of Acton, has developed this code of conduct, and they display it at their town hall. I mean, I think it's time that we adopted the same. I plan to have additional, our Employees Assistance Program offers training on how to deal with difficult people and how to try to keep things from escalating. You know, I talked to one of the principals of the Employee Assistance Program at the conference I was just at this weekend. And they have an actual program that they've put together. They come out and do the training, it's for free. It's called We Pay Your Salary, is the title of the training.
Appropriately so, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
We've heard that comment before.
I can only imagine.
You know, so I would like to have this adopted by the board and displayed prominently in all our town buildings, and particularly Town Hall.
Are there, is this something that should be reviewed by legal? Seems to me like it might or should, I don't know.
Well, the town of Acton has had it vetted, and they have been using it.
I'd like to see a little bit more under what may happen, rather than repeated violations may result in permanent suspension of facility privileges. I think you need to expand upon that, and then pass that through our legal. Because, you know, I would add things like suspension from a current board. You know, if it's somebody from, that's an appointed official or an elected official in the town, there should be, what's gonna happen. I think rather than just repeat violations, I think, possible prosecution. I think you have to expand upon, I like the expected conduct, but I also would like to see expected result. Violators will be subject to arrest, whatever. I'd like to see the penalty be more than you won't be able to come in town hall. I think, suspension or removal from a current board is one of them, would be on my mind. Again, if we're, able to do that or not, but,
See, I don't think you can, but, I'll have legal.
Yeah, I'd
review
like
it.
to see
The-
some other towns with, rather than just say you won't be able to come in town hall, I think you need to be a little more tough on the penalty,
Well, believe me, I would like to, you will be, well, no, I won't say that.
Well, if something of that sort, if I may, Mr. Chair, but might need like a bylaw or something that we have a $250 fine, I don't think you can just impose it. So, I mean, I think this is good, not to say we can't expand on it in the future,
Right.
but I mean, I think where Mike is I think he's looking to get something up there soon. And how do you intend to display this would be my question, a little larger
On a nice
or just in a,
bright neon chart at both doors. and at-
Flashing arrows and lights.
And at every
office?
office window, let people know we are
Yeah.
deadly serious.
No, I mean, do you intend to go much larger? Is there a cost associated with getting something printed
No,
out?
we
That's-
can,
yeah,
We can-
Okay.
we
I
can,
have plenty of colored people.
Selectmen's budget, we'll take that out of the selectmen's
right.
budget. Mike, one word, though, that I would like you to take a look at, though. It says smoking, drinking, alcohol, or appearing to be under the influence of any illegal substance. I think, how can you determine whether it's legal or it's illegal? I think if somebody's had, taken too many of their prescription drugs and they come in town hall acting crazy, then, that's not covered because they have a prescription. I think the word illegal, and maybe word that a little bit differently, under the influence of any other influence of any substance that, produces erratic behavior is prohibited, or something like that. Because I don't know if you can get away with illegal. How would you know?
Well, we wouldn't know.
You know, under the influence of any I don't know how to word that, maybe you guys can wordsmith that a little bit.
I think the key word there is appearing to be. We're not experts, we can't tell. I mean, my daughter can, because she's a human, drug detector, certified police officer. But,
All right, I mean, I just.
Yeah, I mean, you could say illegal substance, alcohol, or other. I would say mind altering, but I don't know. It could be pharmacological or
If I,
psychotropic or whatever.
I don't mean to laugh.
No, but I mean, there were some points in that. I think you brought that up.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept this as written for tonight, so.
To get it up immediately. I'd second that. And then we'll have Mike work some more. I'd like to see the penalties be stiffened a little bit, and maybe that one illegal substance rewording, wordsmithing that. But let's get this in effect right away,
As written.
as written. And then we can always add to it, right, Gary?
Yep.
Well, are we under discussion now?
Oh, well, we just went right to discussion.
Did you second it?
Yeah, what a tough group, yeah.
Did you second
We went right to discussion.
He did.
Yeah,
Did
of
you
course I
second
did,
it?
yeah.
Yes.
I was on some
I-
psychotropic drugs, but no.
It sounds like, Mike, you're moving on this, and are you working on, I guess you've had, who was it that came in to already do a course with
The
the?
training?
The training with the employees?
no, that's next.
That's coming?
Next, okay, yeah,
Okay.
so that they better know how to handle it themselves, because that's
Yes.
also important.
Yeah.
Are you aware, have you worked at all with the police department on what to do? I don't wanna mention this, but you have to, do we have an active shooter policy enforced in this building, like we probably do in the schools? And, I mean, I'm a little familiar with
No,
that.
we don't.
Because I was worked on a team at church that set that up, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that the police look for details of the building in case anything ever happened of lockdown, and I think we need to go to that point also, here, and.
Do we not have that for every town building?
No, just the
Is there any reason we
schools.
don't?
It's one of the things you
Might be
like
something to bring up and talk to the chief about and see if he can. I mean, I don't know exactly what's involved in it, but I think it's some pre-planning and
It's
is important on that
Mhm.
topic. I was under the assumption that we had it for every building, but it should probably be something to look into.
No, well, it's a lot different than a school, because we are a public building.
Mhm.
And, so I'll talk to the chief about
But I
it.
mean, I think what they would work on with you would be, where people go. in case
Right, the whole
something happens.
protocol,
They
the
would work on
egress,
lockdown procedures.
exit,
I mean,
open.
yes, exits, they wanna know even which way doors, do doors open out, or do they open, they want
Yeah.
a set of plans somewhere, things of that
live,
sort. So,
how do
Well,
things?
Janet and I were speaking with our loss prevention agent from our insurance company, and they've actually begun to change that whole thing, especially since the shootings in Connecticut has been evolving.
Mhm.
And they are now recommending evacuation first instead of lockdown,
Oh, okay.
because they felt a lot of those children might have been saved had they just gotten the heck
Got out
out.
the back door. or something.
Yeah, one teacher in a classroom had the opportunity to do that, but because of the regulation, because of what
Protocols.
she was trained,
Yep.
they locked themselves in.
Hmm.
Nothing bad happened to them, luckily,
Mhm.
but, so those things are evolving, and, even when there's inappropriate behavior, I've instructed the
Call the police.
staff to call the police right away.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, I would put up with it anyway.
Right,
At all. Not at all.
but this will let people know
Okay.
we don't accept it under any conditions.
Okay. All right, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for
Thank you.
doing that, and,
Well, thank you to everyone who works here. It's,
Yeah.
it's too bad these
that you have to
things
go
happen,
there,
but,
you know, yeah. Do we want to talk quick fiscal
Yeah, I have.
budgets here, 14, 15?
Yeah, this is an update on where we are today in this fiscal year. This is as of December, so if you, you know, we should be approximately 50% of revenues, and we're a little behind.
Behind, yeah.
But that's primarily because the state doesn't, well, they're at 46%, but a lot of this revenue we know we're gonna get it.
Yeah, like excise and,
And electric department, things like that, QCB tax credit, did that come in yet? No, we haven't gotten that, well, we got half of it.
what is that?
That's qualified electric energy tax credit.
Oh, okay.
When we took out our bond for the ESCO,
Yep.
the DOER of the state had a grant program that would, in essence, give you tax credits to help you pay the interest on the bond. And we were one of 2 municipalities in the state that got that tax credit grant, and it is essentially paying 95% of our interest over the lifetime of the bond. Well, it's more than that. We're gonna end up paying about, well, because of the sequestration, it changed it by about $7,000 a year. Originally, we were gonna pay $5,000 in interest for the $1.1 million
The escrow?
bond.
Okay.
And now sequestration cut that by 7%. So we're gonna end up paying maybe, well, 7 times 15, 7,000 times 15, that'll be the interest we'll pay. So it was about a $500,000 grant. But we get it in a tax credit
That's
two times a
amortized?
year.
Oh, it's, okay. I
Yeah.
didn't-
Yeah, we have to apply for it.
Each time.
Yep. And,
So you seeing any major red flags here?
no, anything that's, you know, well above the 50%, they're seasonally adjusted, or, you know, like some of the supplies, people go out and buy all their supplies in the
Yeah.
beginning of the year.
Yep.
So they'll level out.
Yeah, there's a few, the public safety building utilities, that's a little higher than it should be. And the maintenance. But they may have had several projects and just got them completed early. Same thing with fire operating expenses, they make their purchases in the beginning of the year. We always have to watch the health insurance.
In the auto?
We're running a little over there, but we have, anticipate, the second half of the year, our MedX premium, the premium we pay for health insurance for retirees, it has dropped 18%. But we're on a calendar year, so the 18% just kicked in January. 18% decrease in the premium.
What? How did we manage to go backwards?
Uh,
So,
Well, it's mostly due to the federal government. They're picking up a heck of a lot more of the premium for the prescription drugs.
Okay.
That part went way down. That had about a 50% decrease. So, you know, that should level out by the end of the year too. So everything seems to be on target. Lastly, I just want to give you a brief heads up on the
Passing out.
FY 15 upcoming budget. I'm putting the final touches on it for presentation to the Finance Committee Wednesday night. But this is part of the quote cherry sheet, the revenues that we get from the state. And this is what was featured in the governor's budget that he released last week. You can see quickly here, it was a very small increase in the school aid. Some were up, some were way down, but overall, we're looking at $95,000, you know, 636 in increase. That's a 1.8 increase over last year. The governor made a big deal out of the you know, unrestricted general government aid being level funded, but he didn't say anything about the state-owned lands and the veterans' money being cut. So even though the school funding is up $95,000, the town funding is decreased by $60,000. The good news is, I mentioned earlier that I attended the Massachusetts Municipal Association annual conference. We had a number of speakers come, and one of them was Speaker DeLeo. And he, as a former selectman in Winthrop, he promised all the city and town officials at the meeting that this is not going to be the actual budget, and that we'll see something entirely different from the House when their budget is adopted in he's hoping it will be by April 1st.
Late as usual, right?
Well, then the Senate's not until May, you know, so.
That was gonna be my question. You don't see any change on, no one's getting along.
No, they get along, it's just the timing of it.
Yeah, I mean,
Their timing. I mean, the governor's budget is actually up almost 5%, but he put all the money in transportation, and I think higher education. So,
higher education, so we're,
yeah, colleges.
no, I know, but
Yeah.
we're talking about funding illegal immigrants.
Oh,
Let's not
I
get
don't
into
know
that.
about that.
Let's not get into that.
We should.
And
Discussion for another
just
day.
as a part of the heads up, I'm going to be giving the Finance Committee the drivers, the cost drivers that we see every year in the budgets. This year, they're changing. We usually see health insurance rising, pensions and benefits rising. Well, this year, we have a new cost driver, and, yeah, because The pension benefits, we've been hitting 10% increases every year for the last 4 or 5 years. This year, for the first time, that cost curve is starting to bend, and we're only gonna see a 5% increase in pensions, and they expect it to continue, and maybe even drop, because most of, I'm not talking about OPEB now, that's other benefits.
Yep.
But the pension, they're reaching, you know, with the stock market soaring last year, we're reaching, you know, making up we're hitting heading towards fully funded.
Good.
So that's a good thing. But the new cost driver is a hidden one because it doesn't affect our tax levy limit growth. That's because it's excluded in its calculation. What I'm talking about is the debt exclusion. The debt service is going to be up this year. Last year was a little over $800,000. This year it's going to be $2 million. It's a $1.2 million increase. This is due, we're gonna start to see the costs of the Pembroke project hitting. And what we're trying to do is have it come in stages instead of whacking everybody all at once, because we had projected a $2 million a year debt service just for Pembroke alone. So we're anticipating adding a little more than half of that in FY15. And then the other half, or whatever portion is left, in 16. So it gives 2 years to absorb the hit instead of getting it all.
Do we have anything falling
at
off,
once.
though?
Not until 18. There's
Maybe that'd be a good-
$250,000 falling off. That's the last school funding,
Yeah.
The high school.
yeah. But that's not
86 or
until
whatever that
18.
was.
Well, we have other
18.
stuff coming on, too. Repairs at the high school at some point, you know, all those other things that maybe Elm Street.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
it might be nice to look at a forecast, Mike, of the debt service, you
Oh,
know,
I have it. and
with the
I-
additions, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can get that,
Yeah,
I
that
think
would
that'd
be
be a good.
Very good to look at.
Oh, yeah.
Good schedule for us to take a look at. One other thing, Mike, while you're talking about budget, Peter Durkee and I met with Representative Mira last week, and there's a transportation bond bill that was going in last Friday, and Representative Mira agreed to help us out by putting in a request, and it's just a request, we don't know if we're gonna get it, $65,000 for the fixing and removal of the fence on Pond Street and replacing the guardrail, doing the riprap, the whole project. Let's see if we get approval for it, but he was nice enough to go ahead and, because I had called him and asked him if there was any money at the state for this particular project. And so we came to an agreement, and he had to pass that into Representative Hill, you know, helping him get that all put in. So from what I understand, that went in on that Friday. So hopefully we will see a check from the state, you know, to fund that repair of Pond Street.
Good.
But no guarantees. People that are supporting that, I just wanted to make you aware that that's a possibility.
Harvey's here.
I know that they're talking with CPC too, I think. I'm not positive, Gary. You can, have the Pond Street committee come to you at CPC to ask for
Yes.
funds? So we may, and I'll say may, receive some money through that transportation bond bill. I'll have to follow up with
That'd be
Representative Mira
interesting.
to see when, you know, when that's, when the guarantee comes in on that. I don't know what the time frame was. We were just excited to get it all in. So Peter was working to put the proposal and get that over to Representative Mira's office. From what I understand, it's all been taken care of. Again, let's see if we get it. So,
Yeah, in just wrapping up on this FY15 budget, the board is aware, I just want citizens to be aware that the towns, three collective bargaining units, their contracts are up the end of June. So we'll be, you know, renegotiating wages and benefits, mostly wages as a cost factor. And just to give you an idea, if the increment for, say, a 1% increase townwide is about $31,000.
Good.
So, meaning if it's a 2%, it's 62. You know, you just add or divide 1% for every percentage increase. And because of that, I don't have any wage increases. They're all wages, actually all costs are level funded from last year at this point. Departments that have requests for additional money to maintain the current level of services. The Finance Committee is not entertaining any new services, just level service budget.
What about existing contractual agreements?
Right.
They're putting that in there?
They can be increased,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
So, that's the picture we're starting at. It's a little, and it always is very murky at this time of the year, because we don't know our single largest revenue source, and we don't know a lot of our major expenditures. We usually don't know those until, you know, real close to the meeting in April. So,
Okay.
but the process has begun.
All right, well, thank
That's
you.
all I have for the board.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
on some of that, it's brought up, I don't wanna change any vote or anything, but is it possible to go back to the mosquito control packet?
Mhm.
I did have a question there that I had wanted to ask Mike. Do you have it with you, Mike?
Yes.
And that was, they gave us a budget. And it looks like they've got a full-time payroll of $720,000. And then several lines down, they've got retirement insurance, fringe benefits, which is probably part of contracts. I imagine that's vacation and things of that sort. And that's $364,000, about 50%. Is that in line with normal? About 50% for that type of thing?
Are you saying, I just finally got to the,
Okay. We got full-time payroll, $720,671.
yep.
And several lines down.
You're saying retirement is 50% of it? Yeah, that's
That's in line.
totally in line.
Okay, that was just my question.
Yeah.
Thanks, yeah.
All right, anything else, Mike? That's it?
No, that's it.
All right. I think that's it on we're gonna move off the correspondence process to another meeting, understanding warrant process for payroll, to another meeting, and the financial review to another
Will we
meeting.
get to those, Mr. Chair? I mean, those are in.
Yeah, no,
I've been
absolutely. I'm just
asking
under
you to
time
be
pressure
on.
because my wife's out of town and I gotta get home.
I understand.
I'm not doing that.
And Dave's failing over here on my left, you know. So, but yeah, if you could reschedule those
Yeah,
two or three things,
we
and
just keep putting them on the agenda. until
okay,
we-
keep
till we
putting them
get
on
to
until
it.
we get
Yeah.
to them. And I know financial management review. I mean, that's
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
ideally like to do it when everybody's here, but we may just have to start digging through it because people are traveling now and it's getting kind of hairy. So we'll have to see how we do it how we do time wise on the next meeting. All right. So if there's nothing else, then our next Board of Selectmen meeting would be Monday, February 10th at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall on the third floor. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn for the evening.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, good night.
I had some questions, but I can ask Mike.